We're very glad to see everyone who's here. This evening, our speakers are from the Speedway Police Department. I'm going to introduce Chief Upchurch, and then he'll decide who comes next.
Thank you very much. I'm Chief Upchurch, and I want to point out Tim's one of our police commissioners, so we get to see Tim at least once a month, and he gets to go through all the exciting business of the police department. So it usually take us, Tim, maybe 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes?
Yep.
So we don't have a lot of problems, so we can move through that pretty quick. Well, thank you for the introduction. I am Chief Upchurch. I'm with the Speedway Police Department, as you all know. I've been here in April. It would have been 37 years. So, as we all know, we're coming up on the 100th anniversary. So I've been here for over a third of that time. So, and some days it feels like a little longer. So, but we do have a great staff. I'll introduce Deputy Chief Alexander and Deputy Chief Dine. Sam's been here just a little less than I have. I think he's at 31, 32, and Robert's at just about 20. So that's the unique part about Speedway Police Department. Once we get folks here, we usually don't lose them. They pretty much stay their whole career. So I'll give you a little background on the police department real quick. We have 36 full-time officers. One of those officers is a dedicated school resource officer. He goes primarily from the high school to the junior high, but he does spend time in all the schools. So 28 of our officers are assigned to the patrol division. 4 are detectives or investigators, and we do have 1 canine within the department. So our patrol officers work 12-hour shifts. We have 4 of those shifts. They run from 6A to 6P and 6P to 6A. So when one shift is working, the other's off. So we went to those shifts about 2 years ago. The good part for the officers is police work and the schedules are hard enough, and it affords them every other Friday, Saturday, Sunday off to spend with their families. So the 12-hour shifts, they can be long days though, and we try to get them out of the car as much as we can, because for those of you that have been on a 12-hour trip, you know riding in a car is a long 12 hours is a long time to spend in a car. So last year for the police department, we responded to 27,132 calls per service. That averages about 74 calls a day. Some days more, some days less. We made 887 arrests, issued 6,573 traffic citations, 382 warnings, and we responded to 747 vehicle crashes. So just a little bit of background on what we do. We stay pretty busy. In comparison to our run load, we have probably about the same run load as the Greenwood Police Department. As you know, is got quite a bit more size than we do, more officers, and but we stay pretty busy. So it's a unique police department, as you know. Not only do we have the daily functions of a police department, we are blessed with the Indianapolis 500 and the Brickyard 400. So what 400, 200, whatever it is that year, we don't. I think this year we're back to the 400 again. So, and we are the primary agency with that for that event. But we could not do that without the Indianapolis Police Department, the Indiana State Police, the Marion County Sheriff's Department, and all of our federal partners. That race, we start our planning, normally start in February. This year we're starting in March, but it takes us, Robert, he does the, works with the other planners from the police department, but the command staff, we all get together and start meeting early in the spring so we're ready for the event. So, how many of you here think that our crime was better 20 years ago, or you think it's better today?
Today.
Better in terms of we have less? We do have much less. Yes, yes. I can tell you, I've got some numbers together for our comparison. And I'll compare it to 2006 when we were probably at our highest point here for crime. As you know, we used to have a lot of pretty seedy motels on the west end of town. Well, we had some, the American end, we had some just about everywhere in town. And at that point in his career, Robert was assigned to the street crimes division. And a lot of that was the success of, with redevelopment, getting rid of a lot of those motels and bringing in businesses that didn't bring the problems that we had with the motels. But just a couple of quick comparisons. If we go from 2006 and compare our statistics to 2024, back in 2006, we had 3 homicides. Last year, we had 1. Sexual assaults in 2006, we had 19. Last year, we had 4. Robberies in 2006, we had 52. Last year, we had 6 in town. And our burglaries, we had 71 in 2006. Last year, we had 15. And our vehicle thefts, we had 99 in 2006. And in 2024, we had, you're going to make me get my glasses on, right? 56. Our assault and batteries, in 2006, we had 148. Last year, we had 143. And our thefts were comparable, 231 to 258. So, but we have steadily over the years had a decrease in crime. And I never take credit for it strictly from the police department, because when those stats go down, you don't want to take credit for it, because if they shoot back up, you don't want to take credit for those either. So, but I think a lot of that comes from the work of the police department, but it's redevelopment in town also, with Main Street and the business that they brought to the west end of town. And I think there's just a lot of folks that have moved back into Speedway, or new folks that have moved into Speedway. I think we all remember back the mid-2000s when there were several homes for sale in town. We're back to, you can't find a house in town. If you do, you better get it quick. So, but I think the town and it's the folks that live here, the police department, the fire department, the school system, I think that brings a lot of good folks into town. And I think we enjoy that. So it's a unique community from the standpoint that the neighbors, the community is very tight, proud of their community, and I think unfortunately we can't always prevent everything from happening here. I think the benefit from the town of Speedway is, especially with the police department, if something bad happens and you need a policeman there, you're going to have one there in about 1.5 minutes, 2 minutes, pretty quick on the response time. So I know that it was mentioned about the parks. We do have people that are concerned about what happens in the parks. As you know, I mean, and we've had those conversations, we work with Tammy quite a bit in terms of solutions to the parks. And I think there are folks that think we can just stick a policeman in the park. We on average, we have 7 officers per shift, but when you factor in vacation time, and like last year, I think we spent most of the year between retirements and folks that were either injured on the job or had injuries outside the job. We were down about 3 officers most of the year last year. And so we stay pretty busy. And we, I forget how many times, we always log out on our park checks. How many of those did we have last year, Robert? Just through the spring and fall?
When we first started counting for the first half of the year, we were over 1,500.
So that's officers driving through. We have officers that'll get out of the car, walk through. And most of our issues in the parks, they're not serious crimes. Most of it is people, we've had vandalism in the park for years, not serious vandalism, but we've been dealing with that for probably 25, 30 years, where you get kids that go in and do things they shouldn't be doing. And most of the issues we have in the park are people hanging out in the park after the park's closed. We'll have people that'll pull a car into a park to unload at one of the shelter houses when they shouldn't, they're not allowed to do that. And at Meadowood Park, we'll have issues with folks that will occasionally try to vend and sell food out of their cars, and we have to deal with that. And then we have complaints of kids using foul language in the park. So I think a lot of folks utilize our parks because of the fact that they feel safe in our parks, as opposed to some of the other communities around us. And I think that's why we have the overwhelming presence in the park with a lot of folks there. So I think that's really all I have. I'll open it up to questions if anyone has questions. Yes?
Yeah, I have a question. Wednesday nights, I always go to McGilvery's to play cards.
Uh-huh.
And for the past several weeks, I have noticed from McGilvery's to where I live on Allisonville Road in Old Speedway,
Uh-huh.
I counted as high as 12 cars on the road without their lights on.
Okay.
Have you had any kind of,
We haven't had complaints on that, but we can always check with our patrol division to see if they've had any issues with that. So,
we get done around 9 o'clock. In the summer, that's
Right.
daylight. But
Right. Right.
You know,
I can tell you that the enjoying a low crime right now, most of our complaints and issues are traffic issues. They are speeding cars. They are people driving through stop signs, driving through stoplights when they're red. And we got to the point where we used to issue a lot of warnings, and now we give traffic tickets because warnings weren't working. And we write a lot of traffic tickets, and we have a lot of folks that think that we make a lot of money off those traffic tickets, which we don't. I think on a state statute, we may get a return on one of those tickets, maybe $2 or $3 from the state. So if it's issued under an ordinance, we do get a bigger portion of that fine that comes back to us, which goes into our law enforcement continuing education, which provides training for the officers. And we purchase ammunition for that, for training with the officers. So we do write a lot of tickets, but I think that's a direct result, and I'm not bashing on IMPD. They right now are down probably, 300 to 400 officers. And I don't know that they have a lot of officers to do traffic enforcement. And I think a lot of folks coming through here don't think that they're going to get stopped and not going to get a ticket, because if they do get stopped, they're probably not getting tickets. But here they do. We stop and give tickets. So we also, for those of you that don't know, working with the town council, we do have 13 of the license plate reader cameras in town. We have those strategically posted. You may have figured out where those are. I'm not going to tell you. So we don't give traffic tickets based on those. Those are an investigative tool for our investigators. And what happens, let's say a stolen car or a car that is wanted by another police department is coming through town. When it drives through one of those license plate readers, within about 15 or 20 seconds, it notifies all of our officers that are working in town. And that's why our vehicle thefts have gone up, because we actually will pursue. IMPD will not pursue vehicles anymore. We still pursue. And a lot of times when we catch these folks, they're like, "You're not supposed to be chasing me." And it's like, no, they won't chase you, but we will. So, and our hope is that they eventually just avoid Speedway and just not come through here. So I think that's helped our crime rate too. But yes?
Is there a reason why we're not using the cameras for ticketing?
We can't. Don't believe the state of Indiana is, you're allowed, I know a lot of states have like the traffic cameras where you can get a ticket for driving through a red light. Don't believe that's possible in Indiana yet. So we'd love it. We'd love it, really.
That maybe we could
Right.
like talk to our legislators
Right,
about?
yes, yeah. But we just don't have that capability, nor can we at this point. So, yes?
The code enforcement officer, member of the police department?
We oversee the code enforcement division. We were lucky enough to get blessed with the code enforcement division. So actually that falls under Deputy Chief Dine. And did you have a question about that?
Well, I was just wondering if he was part of the police department. He had the authority to give tickets?
They do have the authority to give ordinance tickets. Traffic tickets, no, but some ordinance tickets they can, so.
And then it should be explained to them that we live in the city of Speedway. We don't live in Indianapolis, which puts an address on the ticket. Because that, in some courts, in some areas, that would be a reason to throw the thing out.
Well, and the code enforcement, there are some code enforcement issues that are governed by the city of Indianapolis that even our guys can't enforce. So, and I may not be answering your question properly, so.
No, but again, you put down the address,
Okay.
street address, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay,
There is no such street that I live on. in Indianapolis.
right, I know,
Therefore, in some courts, that would be thrown
sure,
out.
okay. So, we'll make sure
He
we,
needs to be educated,
Okay.
especially when the ticket says Town of Speedway on it.
okay,
Town of Speedway.
we'll make sure that we make a note of that, so.
Why is he also sneaking around on Sunday morning when everybody else is gone?
Well, I will tell you, basically, we have a part-time code enforcement officer, and that code enforcement officer was hired strictly for that purpose because there were a lot of things that were happening on the weekends that our code enforcement officers normally were off. And there were people that would specifically build projects and things, thinking they could do it on the weekend because code enforcement wasn't here. So, and when we hired that code enforcement officer, we made it clear that he would be working some nights and weekends. So you don't know when they're really out at this point. So we had a lot of people that would make their projects on Labor Day weekend. They had a 3-day weekend, and they tried to get them done real quick before code enforcement found out about those. So, yes.
Are there any plans to revive Neighborhood Watch?
We have discussed that, and we used to, as you know, had a Neighborhood Watch program, and it kind of fizzled out probably the late 2000s. I can't remember when the last time. We got to the point where we'd have meetings and we'd have like the same 3 or 4 people that would come. But we can always revisit that. So, and if there's the involvement and folks want to get involved, we can always revisit that. So, I mean, we always encourage people, no matter whether you're part of Neighborhood Watch, if you see something and you think it's out of order, please call the police department. And we do oftentimes get folks that will call in and they're like, well, dispatch was rude to us. And we'll listen to the phone calls. I'm not saying that there aren't times where you may think that they're rude. They're taught to be direct. And it's not like when we went back to, you know, you always saw Andy Griffith where they had Sarah and they get on there and they talk about everything under the sun. Our dispatchers don't have time for that. And there are times when you call in and they are very busy. They could be dealing with a pursuit. They do fire dispatch. They could be doing any number of things. And sometimes they're not busy, but there are times when they're very busy and they're just taught to be direct. So.
And to that end, can you give instances where maybe people called 911 when they should have just called the non-emergency number? Is there anything to help differentiate?
I would say a crime in progress or something serious, like a car crash. If you see what you think of somebody, let's say breaking into a car, call 911. We need to know about that. It goes straight to 911 and we'll get people there. Let's say you're just calling in a loud music. That doesn't necessarily be a 911 call. You can call our number and they'll still dispatch somebody, but it's not considered an emergency call. So, but I think those things that are happening in progress that are crimes, please call 911. So, or if somebody's hurt or in danger. So, yes.
How do you start a neighborhood watch again? Like, what's the procedure?
Well, we're going to have to go back and open that back up because it's been a while. So, but I'm just being totally honest with you. We haven't done it and so on. We're going to go back and look and see how we used to do it. So.
It does need to be created or started by the police department and then just.
Oh, I mean, in essence, what we would do is we will assign probably 1 or 2 of our late shift folks that work 6A to 6P, which is primarily going to use that to oversee that. But I mean, that can be organized by you all. And you can do that and let us know how you want to set it up, and we'll be happy to help any way we can. But Go ahead.
Is there like an organization that like, since you have to like get the signs that you put around your neighborhood?
We're going to have to look into that.
Okay.
So, been a while. I know, yeah. And most generally, we would get a lot of folks that would want to be involved in Crime Watch if we had an uptick in crime. And then when things were going well, they kind of eased off and we wouldn't get a lot of people come to the meetings. And we'd have prosecutors come in and talk at the meetings and try to bring some informational things in that would help. And we'd get like 3 or 4 people that would come. Some of those we understand in the middle of winter when it's 4 degrees outside. Folks don't want to go out, but we just lost the initiative with that. COVID, we lost some of that with COVID too. It's a lot of bad things happened with COVID where we just lost initiative on some things. So
I think a lot of what people are looking for maybe is what you gave us.
Right.
Statistics.
right.
You know, what kind of things are not going through the
Right.
appropriate channels or whatever.
Well, and as you know, we used to we had the Speedway Town Press,
Right.
which we would always put our statistics in, and that was a weekly paper, so we could get that information out. Now we kind of rely on Facebook, some of the social media, but a lot of times the good with the bad comes with that. We put things on social media and we have those detractors or those people that just lay in wait for us to put something on there so they can go on and say bad things about it. So, but it's 6 one way, half a dozen another, so. Yes.
Are your working staff on a quota system?
We don't have a quota, no. We have performance standards. And the way we explain this is we don't tell a guy that you have to go out and you have to write 40 tickets. So we have always encouraged our guys to go out and write tickets. And they write more tickets than, it's like if you see a violation, stop somebody and give them a ticket. So, and if you compare our traffic citations to other departments, we're writing a lot more tickets than other departments. And we've asked our officers to do that. And because it's like, this is our major complaint that we get on a daily basis. Speed, when we go to a meeting like this, it's cars are flying down Crawfordsville Road. And in the mornings and in the afternoons, we have the officers monitor the school crossings. And believe it or not, we have even the school crossing at 22nd and Lyndhurst, we'll have an officer a lot of times that will sit down there with his lights on, and we get complaints from folks in town because they're like, that's messing up the flow of traffic for us. So, and it's like, well, we're trying to stop kids from getting hit. So, and we're sorry about that, but we're going to continue to do it. So, and we've worked trying to get the cars moved around to where it doesn't interfere with the flow of traffic, but in essence, our goal there is to make sure that kids don't get hurt. So, and we have a lot of school crossings in town. Sometimes more than we have officers working those days. So, a lot of times, Deputy Chief Alexander and Deputy Chief Dine will go out and sit and monitor a school crossing in the morning, just to make sure that we have coverage there. So, anything else? Yes.
I'm just a little concerned about 10th and Lyndhurst,
Mhm.
because we live near there.
Right.
And now twice within the past week and a half, we've almost gotten hit turning onto
Right.
Lyndhurst.
Right.
Because there's still cars coming from,
Right.
you know, is
Right.
that an area that's monitored a lot?
We do. We have we have targeted our high crash intersections. We know where those are. The unfortunate part is twofold. Number one, our really high volume traffic crash intersection, it's hard for our officers to sit there. And like 10th and Lyndhurst, if you're sitting the wrong direction, somebody goes through, they're going to cause a crash trying to get out to go get them. So, and I'm like you. I mean, I just got to the point where after the light changes, I just sit there and wait for a few seconds to make sure nobody's coming through. We do target those. And High School Road, as you know, High School in Crawfordsville, we get complaints on that too. And our officers are like, we try to sit there. we just don't have a good place to sit. And when they see the police car there, they most generally don't do what they're going to do. So, but I know what you're talking about. We do monitor those. We monitor all of our high crash intersections. So,
It does seem like there's a lot of accidents.
yes, there are.
And
There
not
are.
just minor ones. that-
Right, right.
Yeah.
What is
So-
the worst intersection in town?
You know, the worst actually, take a guess. Where do you think that would be? Not 10th and Lyndhurst. It is, we have more crashes in front of the Thorntons at 5900 Crawfordsville, right there with the Firestone and the Thorntons is people trying to pull out. So
But there's no light there.
there's not,
Supposed to be a stoplight put up on
That-
that street.
they are, my understanding is there's supposed to be some reconfiguring of that. But I can tell you from the time they start a project, and my understanding with this, because it's been a long time since I've sat in one of those meetings, from the time you initially try to get funding and start a project and they accept it, it's about 5 years until you'll actually start working on that. So it's how long it takes.
Coming up on that stoplight there.
Yeah, yeah,
It's been 4 years.
right,
at least.
right. Yes?
Is that part of state highway or controlled by the town?
Well, we enforce traffic there, but that is a US highway. So, and as most of you know, we have a new golf cart ordinance. And they cannot be on Crawfordsville Road because, in the state of Indiana, you cannot have a golf cart on a state or US route. So that's US 136. So you can cross it at a 90-degree angle, but you cannot drive a golf cart down Crawfordsville Road. So we'll see how well that goes in the month of May. So.
How are you guys preparing for this new ordinance for golf carts?
Well, we don't know. We've never done this. So we know there are probably going to be some challenges in the month of May, just from the standpoint that we have, race weekend's our busiest weekend, as you would all imagine. We have 350,000 people come in here. And on race day, you cannot have a golf cart in town. So we'll see how well that goes too. So.
Like 4 days before the race?
Well, I think that ordinance was amended to where it was originally designed for the Thursday before, just like our race parking, Thursday until Sunday, but I think that's been changed to just race day. So, and the one thing also, for those of you who have golf carts, you can't just take them in the racetrack. They're not going to let you bring them in the racetrack. And just like the ones in the racetrack, unless they get a town permit, they can't come out of the racetrack onto the city streets. So if you think you're going to drive your golf cart over the track from race day, not going to do it. So, but
What if you've got visitors? I mean, they bring their golf cart with them, is that, are they headed to the same?
well, they have to register their golf cart. They pay a different fee if you are from outside, if you're not a resident of town. They still have to register their golf cart. They still have to go through the application process. We still have to have one of our code enforcement officers or one of our officers do the inspection on the golf cart. We make sure they have insurance on the golf cart. So that's going to be another added feature that will happen on race weekend too. So for those bringing them in. So it'll be a challenge, but we adapt pretty well. We're used to just about everything on race weekends. We've seen just about everything. So a golf cart, it's just a golf cart ordinance. We'll be all right. So yes, Tim.
I think people might be interested to hear when you get a new police officer.
Yes.
Whether you might explain the difference between someone that's a transfer.
Yes.
And then someone that's new from college or.
Okay.
And you tell them how long it takes.
We'll blend this all in because that's a good point. In most of you, all this happened probably within the last 4 or 5 years. A lot of it is social protest. A lot of it is just, I think some of it's generational. We have a hard time getting applicants now. And it's just not Speedway. It's all over the country. And as a matter of fact, I just went to the Hendricks County Chiefs meeting and every police chief around the table, Avon, Brownsburg, Plainfield, everybody's struggling to find good qualified people. And we're no different. We lost in the last year 3 officers to retirement. And then we did have 2 of our newer officers. One wanted to go to IMPD and one went to Westfield. And we have a program where for those officers that have been through the academy, we have 2 tiers. If you don't have any experience, we hire you, you come in at a lower rate than you would if we hire you and you have the academy. If we send someone to the academy, they're gone for 4 months. So, and from the time we hire somebody, even somebody that has the academy, we put them through our field training program, which, depending on what level of skill they have and how long they've been in police work, we've had some folks that have gone through in a month and a half, 2 months. A new person that has no experience takes about 4 months. So with the academy and that field training program for a new person that has no experience, it takes about a year before they're out on their own, actually acting as a police officer on their own without someone from field training watching what they're doing. So those we bring in from the lateral entry program. A lot of times, let's put it this way, we just went through a program where we interviewed 15 probably lateral entry candidates, and we got one that met our standards. So we haven't lowered our standards. We do an extensive background and we do an extensive polygraph examination. And we won't lower our standards because we know we're going to have problems on the back end if we do. And a lot of departments, unfortunately, I think, have lowered their standards just to get people. And we'd rather do without and wait until we find a good candidate before we do that. So right now we have 2 openings, but I think the pendulum will eventually swing back. But I think we have a lot of folks now that view police work and they're like, I don't want to work nights, I don't want to work weekends, I don't want to work holidays. I don't want to get shot at. And in some instances, you don't want to go to jail because I think there are those fears that in some of those major cities that have the issues they have, they're afraid they're going to be used if they make a decision or they take an action. They could be made an example of, and unfortunately, sometimes that's politicized, and I think that's some of that. I think we enjoy good officers that come here and they stay. And like I said, most of our guys will spend, well, me, when I came here, I was going to stay for a year. So 36 years later, I'm still here. So, and Robert and most of our guys that leave when they retire, 25, 30 years, which is unheard of anymore for anybody going into a job and staying for 25, 30 years these days. Mostly it's 2, 3, 4, 5 years and they're gone. So, did I answer your question, Tim?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you guys happen to have like a youth program or anything like that?
We do not. I will let you know what the majority of our time is spent right now is trying to find people to work here. So, and it takes us a lot of recruiting and like right now, we used to have a time where it seemed like after Labor Day, things kind of slowed down to where we could catch up on things. We don't have that anymore. So, we don't have a youth program at this point. Well, I can't say that. I know Jeremy does a lot of things with the kids at the high school and does some different programs, but do we have a dedicated youth program through the Speedway Police Department? We don't at this point. So, yes.
Do officers have to live in Speedway?
They do not. They do not. You know, it's hard to find a house in here. So, I can tell you when I first came on the department in 1991, 1992, we looked for a house. And my mother-in-law was going to live with me, not me, us. And we looked for a house, and that was back when you had to know somebody to get a house in town. I mean, it was, if you didn't know somebody that was selling a house, it probably never made the market. And I think right now we have about 7 of our officers that live in town. So it's hard for them to find a house in town. So.
You reported that you had 36 full-time.
Yes.
What would you like to have?
As many as we could get. That's expensive, though. That's expensive. And I know the town council, they would love to give us as many policemen as we could get, but we all know that there are financial constraints that they have to deal with, and you all don't want your property taxes going out the roof. So, but we'd love to take as many as we could get. That's the only answer I can give you. So we'd use them. So, yes.
I was just going to ask if you know how many
I believe we have like seven officers that live in town. Yes, yeah. So, yes.
I was just gonna tell you that the officer who does the schools and, was it Jeremy, is that who?
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful job.
Jeremy is a big kid in a man's body. So, and it's a big body. So, Jeremy is,
Wonderful job of
he-
relating to the, I work at an elementary school in town.
Yeah.
And he does a wonderful job of relating to the elementary kids, and I'm sure he does a great job at the high school.
Jeremy does a wonderful job, yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Yes? Hey, I'd love to stay here and talk to you the rest of the night, but we're going home. Thank you, folks, I appreciate it. Oh, thank you.